Okay, so now we are on to answering your questions. So the first question that I got was, how does the space shuttle land? So the space shuttle was a glider. We don't fly the space shuttle anymore. It was retired in 2015. And you can see by the pictures, it lands pretty much like an airplane does. It glides down, but it also requires a parachute to help stop it because it's going so fast. This is different than the Orion capsule that is shown in the bottom, which is what we're moving on to exploration, which is also what we use in Apollo. So the capsule floats back down to Earth, uses parachutes, and then lands in the ocean. How long did you have to train to go into NASA? So NASA hires people for the technical areas with an undergraduate degree in science or technology. That has to be from one of the accredited universities, so make sure that you're going to an accredited university if you want that to transfer and be able to be hired for a technical job at NASA. The next question is, how long did it take to build the International Space Station? Well, the first piece was launched in 1998, and the last U.S. module was added in 2011. So that's quite a few years of building it up over time. As you can see, it consists of many, many different modules and different pieces. Over time, the Russians have added a few extra pieces as well. And we're not done. There could be commercial companies that might decide to add on to the space station. This is a picture of the space station just to see the size of it. It's about the size of a football field. The other question I got was about northern lights. Can you see northern lights from the space station? Yes, you can. Here are several pictures depicting the northern lights. Or they're also called aurora borealis, and this is due to magnetic forces on the Earth. How much power or energy do the solar panels produce on the ISS? So they produce about 84 to 120 kilowatts, which is the equivalent power greater that could power more than 40 homes on the Earth. So that's quite a lot of power. We have quite a lot of things going on and things like equipment powered by all of these solar panels or solar arrays. And these are the different channels of the power system. So if you're listening to NASA TV, you might hear them say channel 1B. That's a specific solar array that they're talking about the power coming from, that certain one. The next question, what is your favorite thing to do while working on Earth? I don't fly in space. I'm not an astronaut, even though I wanted to be. My favorite thing to do on Earth is to solve unique problems, doing things never done before. What do you think is a realistic timeline living on Mars in future years? I'll get to that in a minute. But also, basically, it has to be worthwhile. It takes quite a while to get there. It takes 9 months, the fastest rate to get there. Then you want to spend some time on the ground at Mars, and then about 9 months back. So it's definitely going to be somewhere between 2 to 3 years. What is the biggest challenge for people to solve for people to be able to live on Mars? Consumables. Everything needs to be 100% recyclable, and so we need to be able to provide consumables. We're not quite there where we don't need other things to be produced for us to live. Think about all the things that you use in the day that you paper towels, throw away, whatever, and that's the biggest challenge, I think. Our current Russia and U.S. tension is going to affect our Mars exploration. It's hard to say, but I think that cooperation is expected. Our cooperation in space helps us to maintain good relations politically versus the other way around. So I think that there will definitely be international cooperation. The next one, what is the most difficult obstacle in creating a transportation rover to be used on Mars? So this is Curiosity. It was flown in August of 2012, and it took a self-portrait in 2014. I think that the most difficult obstacle is really power. So at least for Mars, there's a lot of dust storms, and the rovers use solar power. So I think that's the most challenging piece of that. Now we had a question from your food group, or one of your food groups. How would you get water in space for your plants to grow, and how are they going to grow with sunlight available? So the water you mostly bring with you, and then you need to recycle it. You can also get the water from the soil, whether you're on the moon or on Mars. We believe that we can extract it a little bit, but the majority you're going to have to bring and recycle in a closed loop system. This is the food that we talked about, and you can see this is the table. So they've laid it out on the table on orbit, and there's over 200 different kinds of food that we fly. Here's an example of the crew having a dinner, and they kind of share food throughout the dinner. And then we also do fly some fresh food, but the fresh food doesn't last very long, so the crew loves to get that on orbit with the resupply missions, and that's the first things that they eat are the fresh produce. Here's an example of what growing food on Mars might look like. A lot of people don't know, but there's perchlorate in Martian soil, and perchlorate is toxic. And so we can't really grow food in Martian soil like they did in the movie The Martian. You'd have to remove that perchlorate first. There is perchlorate eating bacteria that people are studying. This is a chart of human exploration. This is where it shows you the Martian mission would be about 2 to 3 years. And we're moving on to the moon before going back to Mars. This talks about recycling, waste management. So what kinds of waste management systems are needed, and how does the water filter if you need to reuse it? So we use filtering systems to filter the water, but again, those take consumables. Up in the right-hand corner is the Russian toilet. We have 2 of those on station, one on the U.S. side, one on the Russian side. We recycle 90% of the water on space station. It comes from sweat, condensation, and urine. And so there's a little thing here that says yesterday's coffee, tomorrow's coffee, we recycle. So on the bottom left, there is space debris, orbital debris around the Earth, and that is also a problem that we need to deal with at some point. From satellite, space junk, it's just all kind of hanging out there. It poses some risks to our vehicles. The bottom right is compressed trash. So it's a trash composter that is making discs that could be used for radiation protection in the future. Here's a few more things about what we're working on. We're working on Orion as the next crew module. EM1 is the next Orion mission to test out, which will be in 2019. We're working on commercial crew, replacing a shuttle and getting a commercial vehicle. Boeing and SpaceX are working on that. This is some research that we do on the ground by putting crew members in a simulated atmosphere. Here's our latest kind of map, and it shows you that we really wouldn't be looking at going to Mars until after 2030. Deep Space Gateway is a new thing that we're going to put around the moon and use the Orion vehicle. And then we would use a deep space transport to go farther out. Here's some habitation testing and some mock-ups that we're doing with virtual reality. My time is running out. Thank you very much for having me, Marsville. And you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'm super thankful and grateful that you've allowed me to be part of it. Take care.